Hey comrades, welcome to the new home for Juche lessons and all sorts of DPRK related content, free from imperialist and reactionary slander and distortions. Here comes Juche Lesson 1. Man is a social being. The fundamental principle of the Juche philosophy is that mankind is the master of everything and decides everything. But this fundamental principle of the Juche philosophy is scientifically produced on the basis of a new understanding of mankind. Therefore, in order to have a deep understanding about the fundamental principle of the Juche philosophy, it is important to have an understanding of humankind as clarified by the Juche idea. Historically, the question of what kind of being mankind is and what essential features we have had been the primary question of philosophy since the beginning of philosophical thinking of humankind. Philon, an ancient Roman philosopher, said that there were 208 kinds of views of human beings in that period. The theses of human beings of those people in ancient slaveholder society, such as Democritus, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and the theses of human beings in the Renaissance period, and by classic German philosophers such as Kant, Schelling, and Hegel, and the controversies that have taken place through many centuries could not give the correct view. One of the main reasons for this is that the previous philosophers tried to discover the essence of mankind by regarding them as a simple material being or a spiritual being, because they focused on the question of relations between matter and consciousness. Another reason is that the essential features of mankind were distorted, suiting to the taste of the reactionary exploiting classes, and used to justify exploiting societies. This is because the question of man's essence is a socio-political question that reflects the class interests of philosophers, and not a simple academic question. It was Marxism which clarified mankind as a social being for the first time, claiming, quote, "Man is in essence a totality of social relations," end quote, against the unscientific and reactionary viewpoint that regarded mankind as a simple material or biological being, or a mental spiritual being. Marxism considered social being as the material conditions of human activity and mode of production, and attached decisive significance to them. Thus, Marxism explained that mankind is a being defined by the social relations, but failed to explain what the essential features of mankind are. The Juche idea raised it as an important philosophical task to explain the essential features of mankind, and for the first time in history gave the most scientific and accurate answer to it, and thus established a thorough revolutionary philosophical understanding of mankind. General Secretary Kim Jong-il once said, quote, "Considering mankind and social relations, the Juche idea cast a new light on their essential features. It expounded that mankind is a social being with independence, creativity, and consciousness, and thus gave a perfect philosophical elucidation of mankind." The word social being is used in the Juche philosophy as an important concept which enables us to find the essential features of mankind that are fundamentally different from all other material beings, and is regarded as the starting point of the philosophical explanation of humanity. As a biological organism, humans are born, grow, and die. with the natural and biological attributes according to biological law. If this is absolutized, however, regarding mankind as a simple natural or biological being, one can fall into the wrong view of finding the essential features of humanity in the natural and biological attributes, considering our attributes as the development of biological attributes. It is true that humans have a biological organism, and natural and biological attributes commensurate with it. But the essential features of mankind, which separate us from all other known material beings, are not to be found there. What is essential and important for humanity is in the social aspect. Therefore, only when one starts from the fact that mankind is a social being is it possible to correctly find the essential attributes of humanity in the philosophical consideration of mankind. General Secretary Kim Jong-il once said, quote, "Mankind is a social being. This implies that they are a being who live in a social relationship. This term is used to distinguish mankind from a natural being." End quote. When humanity is referred to as a social being, it means a being who lives and conducts activity in social relationships differently from a natural being. Mankind lives in a society unlike other living matters. Humanity's life and activity are possible only in the social collective that is organically linked on the basis of certain social relations. There cannot be a human who lives outside of social relations. It is a peculiar mode of existence for humanity to live and conduct activity forming the social collective in social relations. Now, of course, there are animals such as ants and bees that exist in groups according to a certain order, building nests jointly and procuring food. But there is a qualitative difference between the animal's mode of group life based on a certain order and group relations, and the peculiar mode of existence of humanity who forms and lives only through social relations. According to data, monkeys and chimpanzees maintain their unique voice and walking manner even though they live apart from their groups after their birth. This shows that the mode of existence or mode of activity of the animals are not defined by the group relations alone, but by instinct based on genetic information. Thus, monkeys and chimpanzees become monkeys and chimpanzees from their birth. But it is quite different in the case of humanity. If they grow apart from social relations, they cannot do upright walking peculiar for humans, to say nothing of speaking and thinking. In other words, a human cannot be said to be a real human only with their biological birth, and only when humans form the social collective and live in social relations will they be able to exist and develop as a human. For the existence and development of mankind, the social relations become an indispensable and permanent condition. And herein lies the essential meaning that mankind is a social being. When man is referred to a social being in Juche philosophy, some questions should be made clear. Firstly, there are social wealth and social relations in society besides humans. Social wealth and social relations belong to society. They do not belong to nature. Social wealth and social relations are created by mankind, the social being. But just as creator and creation cannot be the same, social wealth and social relations can never be the same as mankind, the social being. If social wealth and social relations created by mankind is regarded as a social being, then the essential difference of mankind and them become obscured or abstracted. So only mankind is a social being who creates and enjoys social wealth in social relations. Next, it is important to clarify the difference between the concept of social being in the Juche philosophy and the starting point concept of social being in the Marxist world outlook, which is, of course, the premise for Juche philosophy. As stated previously, the preceding classics criticized the mystical and idealistic view of humanity and the biological and abstract view considering mankind outside of social relations, defining the essence of mankind as a, quote, totality of social relations. This is the first recognition of humanity as a social being. Thus, it was a great advance in the philosophical understanding of mankind. But the concept of social being used by the preceding classics, Marxism, in evolving the basic principle of materialism, means material conditions of social life, the economic relations that are distinguished from social consciousness. Of course, they considered humanity as a component element of the productive forces and the totality of social relations, so mankind is also included in the concept of social being. But they did not use the word social being as a peculiar meaning that defines the essential features of humanity, and thus failed to make clear that mankind is the only social being. With their concept of social being, however, it is possible to clarify that humanity is a social being who is defined by social relations and the mode of production. But it is impossible to clarify that humanity forms and develops social relations independently and creatively. Recognizing that humanity is restricted and influenced by social relations, the Juche philosophy clarified that it is a basic and essential aspect that mankind forms and develops the social relations purposefully and consciously, thus clarifying the genuine meaning of the concept of a social being. With the viewpoint that mankind is a social being clarified by the Juche idea, it is possible to correctly clarify the essential attributes of humanity that exist in social being only. The Juche idea established the most thoroughly accurate understanding that humanity's essential attributes are independence, creativity, and consciousness, proceeding from the fact that humanity is a social being.